Lumban is a third-class municipality in the province of Laguna known as the embroidery capital of the Philippines. The embroidery culture dates back as far as around the establishment of the municipality. The San Sebastian Church in Lumban was the first stone church established outside Manila, being built almost half a century after Magellan arrived in the country. At the time, it had been the center of all missionary activities in Laguna.
So the story goes on with the Franciscan nuns introducing the needlework in the 1600s to the wives of fishermen and farmers, and as well as girls in religious houses and schools. Today, the craft has been deeply embedded in Lumban's culture as both men and women uphold the centuries-old craft, with around 70% of Lumban's population dependent on embroidery jobs.
Lumban's proud culture of embroidery is not limited to its prevalence today but also stylistically unique characteristic of the meticulous handmade craft. The municipality even celebrates the embroidery culture in a one-week event called the Budang Lumban Festival, showcasing their craft through exhibits, parades, pageants, competition, basically placing the century-old craft under the limelight.
Even beyond the festival, the protection and promotion of the culture is evident in the establishment of cultural institutions such as the Lumban Embroidery Association and the Multi-Purpose Cooperative, providing the borderos with the equipment and the space they need to showcase their work.
Among the number of people fighting to promote this culture of embroidery in Lumban is Ms. Maverick Cordobes. Ms. Maverick is actually the chairperson of Lumban Embroidery Association. And while this is where the site of our adaptive reuse project comes in, because Ms. Maverick is a member of the third generation to have resided in the Baduria Heritage House.
Located only a few blocks away from the San Sebastian parish, the 70-plus-year-old Baduria Heritage House had been standing there since the country's liberation from the Japanese in World War II. Its architectural style is testament to the cultural crossroads of the time, with hints of both Spanish and American influence and even more modern or contemporary details.
Having withstood the memories of three generations of Baduria family, it is standing today in a considerably good condition, with much of the house remaining intact. However, it is no longer used for the same reason, as many of the family members had already moved out. While regular general cleaning and maintenance is conducted for the house, it can't be helped but notice some evidence of degradation over time.
As the house is being used less and less for residential purposes, it's reaching to a point of obsolescence, and therefore it's also high time to find the structure a new purpose. With Ms. Maverick Cordobes being our consultant and resource person, we decided to approach this adaptive reuse project keeping in mind the intended agenda of both her and her family.
Understanding first what the house meant to Ms. Cordovez, we listened to stories of her childhood growing up in the house along with her cousins, being cared for by their aunts, the fiestas where they'd invite people in to eat, and even the river where they used to swim, fish, and do laundry at the time. It was basically a very vivid picture of their life back then, growing up in Lumban. And although the house hasn't been the official residence since 2018, they do come back once in a while during events like Undas for family reunions. Ms. Cordovez, who also maintains the house, would use the structure for community projects. Like there's this one time where they invited local borderos to work in the house, basically turning it into a workshop.
Dealing with the heritage structure, we know that we need not just to protect its physical form, but also the values it holds. In our values assessment, we narrowed down the house's values and specific heritage values into the following: sentimental values from the family, communal values, historical values, and aesthetic values.
The sentimental value it holds is due to the family's collective memories growing up in the household, purely from the family history evident in a wall showing photographs of the members, as well as personal associations of its owners through the stories drawn from the structure. We understand that the structure we're dealing with means so much to the family members, who is our primary stakeholder. Another value extending from this would be communal values exhibited by the community around the structure, as the family that owns the house has been playing a role in social development and community improvement through projects ranging from workshops to general community programs.
In a sense, the house's age also radiates historical value to it. The age alone puts it under a classification of presumably important cultural property. Being a witness to the earliest days of post-war Philippines, stories of artifacts being unearthed during its construction gives the house an entirely new fascinating layer of history beyond its cross between Spanish colonial architecture and American period architecture.
The architectural design of the house shouldn't go over people's heads, as implied suggestion of influences at the time of its construction can be seen, from its general layout to details such as fretwork. Even the colors used also give it a fascinating story, considering how over 70 years ago they decided to use a mix of cyan and pale yellow, giving it an entirely unique character for a heritage structure, thus the static value of it.
In our adaptive reuse proposal, we want to celebrate the heritage house as well as the people that put value into this. Wanting to breathe new life into the house, our proposal invites not just the family, but also the local craftspeople and tourists while protecting the interests of our stakeholders and the Verdaderos of Lumban and the Baduria family.
Giving the house a new use, we wanted to make sure to do it as right as we could. So our process was divided into two parts. First one being understanding the goals of the Baduria family that were mentioned in our interview. It was their collective goals to be able to promote education, nutrition and wellness, culture, livelihood, and heritage. Our job as heritage conservation students was to ensure that this intertwines with our understanding of the structure's heritage values. Thankfully, Ms. Cordoves was rather certain with what specific typologies she wanted to introduce in the house by introducing other proposed adaptive reuse options and filtering them by intersecting advocacies among other external factors. We narrowed it down into these options.
The floor plan of the house features a reconfiguration of the existing space, translating most of the first floor into something accessible to the public. You have a commercial space, a gallery or museum, and a multi-purpose workshop space retaining the flexibility of the original structure for future community projects.
The second floor of the structure is somewhat more straightforward, just as Ms. Cordoves had requested. We made sure that the second floor of the house stays private to the family. We decided to use up the entire space for all the necessities of a standard household for one family, while making sure that there's enough flexible space in the family hall for gatherings and tradition.
Named after the Baduria matriarch, Cafe Segunda opens right at the sidewalk as this pop-up space featuring local delicacies such as quesong puti and espasol. Among other things, this can be immediately enjoyed by cyclists, passerbys, and even tourists in vehicles, as well as those who can spend more time to appreciate the atmosphere of the house from either its immediate front or within.
The Museo Bordero features a textile gallery showcasing the unique characteristics of Lumban's embroidery style as well as how it had evolved over time from the simple calado style to its modern influence in fashion. It is situated within the heart of the house as it also celebrates the structure's unique character. We decided to retain most of its details such as the unique ceiling design and the fretwork while introducing modernized interventions for the household such as humidity control equipment for the gallery and air conditioning provision, minimizing economic cost, addressing environmental implications, and having the community as part of the advocacy. The adaptive reuse of the structure not only breathes new life into the house, but also empowers the tangible and intangible values that it already holds inherently. This not only supports the family that owns it, but also the community around it. The project in a heritage perspective can be seen as not only ideal but also a necessary intervention in preserving the structure's values ensuring that the people that care about it, the family and the community around it, can appreciate it and pass it forward beyond the third generation owners, beyond the next generation of Lumban.